my goodness, what a beautiful evening. And I just wanted to be out. Tina set me up, and she and kids are out doing something with the cattle. But I want to share, something I think that just kind of really hit me. It hit me like a ton of bricks. No, it hit me like a four-wheeler. That's what it hit me like. And my siblings, we have the group texting, and I mean, some of the things that my siblings put out there in text, I don't even want to say anything because I don't want to break that train of thought. It's just that good. There's just so much nuggets, and they're just so wise. And then later on, last night, my little brother Paul texted me and just dropped a bomb on me. He said, that he was talking about Jacob, and when he wrestled with God, and God touched his hip and took it out of socket. And it just I mean it just floored me, because I've had these horrible dreams, and I've had, just the slow recovery. I mean, nights are tough. They're just, as if you get hurt or sick, nights are always the roughest. And I wish I could spend a whole hour on here talking to you about it, because just to unfold this thing, I mean, it's just so good. It is just so powerful, and I feel like I'm robbing it because I'm gonna just touch here, touch there, and get to the point. And so forgive me for that. But so anyway, I want to pick up with Jacob, where he's got this really bad reputation. He's really, really, really good at taking advantage of people. He manipulates his brother's birthright away from him, and over a bowl of soup, of all things, a bowl of soup. But we look at that and we cluck our tongues. But you think about it, how many people in society today will trade in their values for a temporary fix, or for a in the moment experience, and lose so much. There's so much to be lost there, and sometimes years later they realize what they've lost, and just being that impulsive, and just jumping into something in the moment and regretting it later. And then again, he goes later on and actually robs the blessing from his brother Esau. Now Esau's getting pretty sick of it. He wants to kill him. So Jacob takes off, and he's on the run, and he works for a guy, and it's funny because he works for a guy that's just worse than he is. And it's funny because the Bible says, a man that lives by the sword will die by the sword. And sure enough, he meets somebody that is pretty crooked. And anyway, he worked 7 years, and he's for this woman that he loved. It'd be like a day. Isn't that romantic? I'll work this 7 years, and it'll be like a day. Because I love her so much. Well, the only problem is after the honeymoon, he got the sister. Well, rats. So then he says, well, that's our custom. And his father-in-law tells him, well, that's our custom. Now you got to work another 7 years for the other sister, for the one you want. And he does it. So, but there comes a time that it's time to move. He's got to go back home. And on that road home, and in Genesis 32:24, it says, so Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him till daybreak. When the man saw that he could not overpower him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip, so that his hip was wrenched, and he wrestled with this man. Listen to this. This is so good. Then the man said, let me go, for it is daybreak. But Jacob replied, I will not let you go until you bless me. And the man asked, what is your name? Jacob, he answered. Then the man said, your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel. Man, because you struggle with God and with humans and have overcome. Now, Jacob, he realized that something it just wasn't normal. I don't, a lot of this don't sit with a lot of people, that God in a personal struggle, he actually wounds Jacob. He actually wounds him. He knocks his hip out of socket. And after that, the Bible says that he walked after that with a limp. But I thought that is so cool, to be that leader, or to have destiny like that. And God has enough patience and time with you, and maybe your past has been not the best. Maybe there hasn't been a whole lot of bright moments in your past. And sometimes God, and I know this is hard to understand, but he wounds us, and we have a limp after that. But that limp is to remind us of how God touched us. Man, he went from Jacob to the nation Israel overnight. And I think we lose sight of that, and I think even in our own lives, that, man, it's easy to give up and it's feel like we've failed. And sometimes we wonder through the things that we're going through, and yet God is still working his plan. He still wants us to believe in him. And I believe, that when we have the success and the prosperity and everything goes smooth, we have a tendency to forget God. And sometimes God has to leave a lasting imprint on us. You look at even in our society, and it's amazing to me because it's almost like we want to go back to, to a way or to equality and things of the Communist Party and all these things, and leave God out of it. We don't need God, and it failed miserably. It failed. We have a perfect, not that long ago. We all know how it failed miserably. And yet we want to go back. And sometimes God wounds us, I believe, allows wounding or wounds us himself, that we can get our bearings and say, you know what? We need to get our nation back. You can't rip God out of a country with nothing to hold it. And I believe that's what God's doing now. I believe that there's a wounding going on. Not because he hates us, but because he loves us. And he wants us to see him return to his love and the stability